I think this is a great opportunity for our team to play in a great environment, new stadium in Atlanta against one of the top teams, no doubt, in the country. Florida State has got a lot of returning starters on both sides of the ball, especially at skill positions, quarterback, defensive players, however you want to figure it, 10 or 11 guys coming back on defense, which was one of the top defenses in the country a year ago. You know, I think both of these teams probably are going to be well prepared to play this game. I know our guys have done a really good job in preparation for this game. We're pleased with the progress that we've been able to make with a lot of players, and we've had a couple good days of work in Florida State prep, which we will continue today. Each player kind of knows what their job is, what the challenges are, and I think each player knows that the player he's playing against is a really good player, and he's going to know his number too, and I think that's what makes it a great challenge and a great opportunity, you know, for our team. I think this is going to a game that's going to come down to who can play with the most discipline and execute for 60 minutes in the game. That's how a lot of first games are. Who's going to make the most mental errors, who's going to take care of the ball the best. So this is always the challenge in an opening game. You know, the Raekwon Davis situation, we're still gathering information. Doesn't seem like our players were guilty of anything other than being out late, which doesn't make me happy, but it is what it is. And he is released from the hospital. He's here. He's getting treatment. He'll be day to day. We're still gathering information, and what his status is moving forward will be a medical decision, not something that we can really, you know, comment on, you know, here right now. Yep.
Start on the left side with John Zener.
I know we kind of ask you this every year, but could you talk about, there's such a high risk, high reward game from outsider perspective, but such a challenging game. What are the benefits that make this something you guys do every year?
Well, I've said this many times before. I like the early season challenges. Certainly help your off-season preparation, off-season program, spring practice, summer conditioning, fall camp. Players are really looking forward to playing against a really good opponent and challenge themselves to try to get put themselves in the best position to be able to have success against, you know, a very good team. So all those things are benefits. I think the second thing is it shows you where your team is. You know, you could really play a lesser opponent, not play really well, not really find out exactly where you are and who you are and what you need to do to fix it, where when you play a challenging team, I think you find out most of those things about your team in terms of their ability to execute, their psychological disposition. From a competition standpoint, there's a lot of things that you find out early on, and you certainly know what you need to go to work on and fix, you know, win, lose, or draw. So I think those are the basic, you know, advantages of, you know, this, and it's a lot of exposure, you know, to the program, and I think that's always good.
Back with Cecil.
Coach, you have several players from the Houston area, Jalen and some others, and have they been able to be in touch with their families? Do you know what their situations are? Right.
As of right now, all of our coaches have been in touch with their families and the players, so that if anybody's having any issues, and we can be of any assistance, you know, to them. We've certainly let them know that, you know, we're here to try to help in any way that we can. We want our players to feel comfortable that their family's not in any danger or in harm's way. And to this point, we don't have any significant issues that we have to report.
Come back over here on the right with Chandler.
On Josh Jacobs and his status for the game Saturday?
Right, he's still day-to-day, still rehabbing. You know, we probably won't be able to make that call until midweek, and that's about as much as I can tell you about it right now.
Back and left with Tony Barnhart.
Coach, you've always believed that a team should
learn what they learned from the previous season, close the book, turn the page, and move on to the next season. Based on what you've seen so far in practice, has this team done that? Are they learning the lessons that you'd hope would learn, and they've now moved on?
Well, I think that you probably really don't know the answer for sure to that question until you actually play. But I do feel like the way the players have gone about it, they seem to have learned some lessons. They seem to be going about things the right way. But this is a completely different team. You know, we have a completely different team. So the identity of this team is going to get created by what this team does, not what happened last year, not what happened on the last play of the game. None of that's going to matter to how this team sort of develops their identity and their ability to conquer adversity. You know, to conquer adversity, and you're going to have to do that against any great competitor, you got to first conquer yourself, and you got to be confident that you can overcome the adversity before you ever get there because you're well prepared, you have confidence, you have experience. So this is going to be with a lot of new faces, especially on defense. It'll be interesting to see how those players respond to their new role. Same thing when it comes to leadership. It's a new role for some players. How are they going to respond? But it's your ability to overcome adversity that makes you a great competitor. And I think conquering those things first come from within you, and I don't think that's very easily recognized until you see it in a competitive situation.
Go in the middle here with Michael.
What makes Derwin James special, and how does a safety like that cause problems for offense?
Well, I mean, the guy's obviously a great player. I just saw him a little bit because he didn't play much last year. So in a lot of the films that we watched in preparation, he's not necessarily in there. But I think a safety, and we've had some really good ones here, and I think he's every bit as good as anybody that we've ever played against. You know, you're in the mix of a lot of plays because you line up somewhere, you know, near the formation, whether you're coming down in the box or whether you're playing split safeties. And this guy's just a very aggressive player. He's got good ball skills. He's a good tackler. He's a very physical player. He's a good blitzer. So, you know, just all around really, really good football player. And I think when you have really good safeties, they can minimize the number of big plays that you ever give up because a lot of times they're in position to stop the ball when it breaks the line of scrimmage, and he's certainly good at doing that.
Come back here with Mark.
Trayvon Diggs developed throughout camp, and what are you seeing that makes you comfortable putting him out there at cornerback?
Well, I think Trayvon has worked really, really hard to improve, pay attention to detail, improve his techniques, improve his understanding of the defense. So I think this is one of those situations where we have confidence in the player, but until a player goes out there and gets confidence himself in terms of what he does, that's what I'm talking about. Is he well prepared? Is he going to go out there and be able to execute this in a game, stay focused, look at the right things, key the right things, have the right eye control, put himself in the right position? Levi Wallace has provided some competition at the position, and that's always welcome when you have lots of competition.
Down here in the front with Dwayne.
Coach, you opened up talking about Raekwon and saying that the players aren't guilty of anything but being out late. Are you concerned though with your players' safety though, being out in those type of situations?
I'm concerned about our players all the time, and you know, nothing good ever happens after midnight. Nothing good ever happens after 3 drinks. I mean, you got all these talks that you give and constantly talk about how important it is to recover and get rest. And I'm always concerned about our players being out, where they're out, who they're with, who's the alpha dog that provided the leadership to not get out of that situation somewhere earlier in the evening where it would have never happened. So I'm always concerned about player safety. I'm very concerned about this player's safety. I'm very concerned about this player's well-being and getting healthy and in the future. So, but if they'd have followed my advice, they wouldn't have been there. So.
Go Taryn.
Hi, Coach. How have you seen the passing game advance, whether it's on the wide receivers end or even Jalen's or the quarterbacks?
I think the quarterbacks have done a nice job. I think Brian's done a nice job of developing our quarterbacks in that part of it. I think systematically, receivers and quarterbacks have a good understanding of what they need to do. Can we continue to improve? You know, other than Calvin Ridley, we don't have a lot of experience at that position. We have some good young players who've provided a lot of competition that I think can help us this year. So their development is really important. But I think the accuracy, the decision-making, processing have all gotten better. We still have to improve on route running, protection, consistency, and accuracy. You know, those things I don't know if you ever get satisfied with as coaches, but we're going to continue to work on those things. But I think we have made a lot of progress in that area.
In the middle with Alex.
We've heard about some of the stories, the back and forth between you and Jimbo at practice. Apparently, there were some times when they would get heated. Do you have any good stories that you might remember with that? And what do you get out of that when you're in the thick of it at practice, when you're going against your offensive coordinator?
Well, I don't really go against our offensive coordinator. You know, I'm for Alabama. I'm for our team. I coach defensive players because that's my background. That's what I have the most experience in, special teams and defense. But I don't root for the defense. There's a difference in that. I root for our team. I like to see our offense make good plays. I like to acknowledge the offense when they make good plays. But I do think that we've had coaches on staff that are very, very competitive, and that's one of the good things about a coordinator, that they're very competitive, and Jimbo was very, very competitive. That's why he was always on my noontime basketball league. Could shoot threes, and he was very competitive. You know, he wanted to have success, and he wanted to build confidence, you know, in the offense, in the system that we ran. And I guess the one story that I could tell you is we're having team run, and you know, they're running zone read options and all that kind of stuff, and so all of a sudden we started running kind of RPOs during team run when I'm worried about, you know, can we block them, can we take on blocks, can we control blockers, and the ball comes spitting out of there. And I can remember that's one time that I threw a Nick fit, if you want to call it that.
Go in the back with Scott.
Staying with that theme, Jimbo told me last week it was not an adjustment for him coaching under you like a lot of assistants with your work ethic, because his dad, you were a lot like his dad. Kind of talk about that West Virginia work ethic, and then also, do you think he resembles running a program as closely to you as maybe some of your other guys?
Well, I can't really answer the second part of that. I know that probably of all the assistants that have gone on and have had whatever amount of success, you know, Jimbo and I were probably as close as any of them in terms of philosophy of how we did things, and how he did things, and how he liked to do things. And he's a hard worker, pays attention to detail, discipline-oriented in terms of how he thinks players should play, very aggressive in the way he coaches players to do the things that they want to do, that he would like for them to do, so that they can have a better chance to be successful. So there was a lot of similarities, I think, philosophically and personality-wise, in terms of how we went about things. Now, how he chooses to run his program now, I'm not 100% aware of. But I think the reflection of how they play on the field, a very physical team, play with a lot of effort, a lot of toughness. You know, I think those are the things that you want, or that I would want our team to reflect in terms of how they play, effort, mental and physical toughness, ability to execute, discipline, those types of things. I think his team reflects that. So however they go about it, I think philosophically there's a lot of similarities. And you know, Jimbo was always in my mind one of the best play callers, one of the best assistant coaches, relating to players, teachers that we've ever had on any of our staffs, and certainly appreciate the great work that he did for us.
Okay, we're going to wrap up in the back with Joe. Hey, Coach. Teams always talk about treating every single game in the schedule the same. You've coached in so many games that have drawn a lot of national attention and interest. When you operate in that plane for as long as you have, is there ever a point where it starts to feel normal?
What feel normal? That every game is a big game. I mean, it's always been that way for me. I mean, I've given this speech many, many times. You know, I don't work in the media right now. I work with our team to try to get them better and to play to the best standard that they can play to in every game they play, regardless of who the opponent is. So every game is a big game to me. Maybe psychologically, maybe national interest, maybe externally, maybe it doesn't seem to be as big, but internally, to us, our coaches, our players, and sometimes our people get affected by those external factors, but we try not to allow people to be affected by that so they can continue to grow, continue to improve, continue to get better. Look, it's a long